I wasn't going to do a video on this particular topic, but it keeps showing up over and over and over again. So I thought, what the hell? Might as well break it down astrologically. Content theft is becoming a regular issue these days and is all a part of a much bigger astrological story. Saturn moving from Pisces into Aries and in conjunction with Neptune. So let's break this down. Recently, a friend of mine, and I'll drop the link to the video in the description below, called out those stealing from her original content, naming other creators who face the same frustration. Then as I'm scrolling through YouTube feed, I see the case of Ethan Klein from H3H3 Productions publicly calling out 3 Twitch streamers who did not react to his videos and kind of blatantly ripped it off. So there goes that. Then on my Threads feed, I see that Timbaland is allegedly being accused of stealing submitted work from artists to train an AI artist that he signed, allegedly. Which that already sets a troubling precedent and fuels the idea that human creativity can be casually replaced by robots. Hello, Pluto in Aquarius vibes. But why is this all happening right now? In the stars, what do the stars say? Astrologically speaking, Saturn represents rules, boundaries, consequences. In Pisces, it was kind of a quiet tension, secret planning, and subtle deceptions. People tried to overlook or tolerate it. Pisces, ruled by Neptune, represents all illusions and deceit, perfect energy for quietly taking without immediate repercussions. People were patient or silent, waiting and definitely watching. But now Saturn has moved into Aries, the sign of confrontation, directness, action, and importantly, ruled by Mars. It highlights the intellect. With Neptune there also, the deceit isn't gone. It's kind of amplified now, more visible and aggressive. People who were quiet during Saturn in Pisces won't sit silent anymore. And interestingly, there's a pattern emerging of women specifically falling victim or being heavily involved in these cases. Mercury is currently transiting Cancer, squaring that Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Mercury is astrology's trickster. Think Loki energy. It's associated with theft. Gemini, ruled by Mercury, holds Pisces at its highest point in the 10th cusp, bringing hidden deceptions, Pisces, into Gemini's public reputation. And Gemini's 8th house, which is shared resources and other people's property, is Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, the act of taking. Relax, Gemini identified people. Not all of you steal, but astrologically, there's something undeniably sneaky there. No shade. So here's a brief recap, right? We have Saturn in Capricorn, which is taking, restrictions, consequences. We have Pisces Neptune, which equals deception, illusion, and Mercury, Gemini, theft, trickery, cunning. So with all this combined, what happens next? We're kind of starting to see it already. Lawsuits, public callouts, digital battles, even outright confrontations. Saturn and Neptune in Aries make it real, physical, and immediate. And with Chiron also in Aries, people will genuinely get hurt, legally, financially, or through reputation, depending on where Aries is in the individual's chart. This pattern of theft and retaliation is karmic. When Saturn was in Aquarius, I warned about the danger of cutting people off socially, being too quick to be indifferent to your friends or your social circles, during the lockdown season, that you would probably find yourself in a situation of isolation when Saturn entered Pisces. And sure enough, a lot of people found themselves in solitude and kind of going crazy. Then as Saturn entered Pisces, there was a highlight of caution about the lack of sympathy. Over the last 2 years, we have felt the lack of sympathy people had for other people. And then the consequences of that would be once Saturn got into Aries, the results of having lack of sympathy would find yourself utterly alone, fighting battles by yourself. And we can see that those who had no regard for those they stole from and no sympathy for their victims, and even a greater lack of sympathy for people in general when Saturn was in Pisces, and even now with Saturn conjunct Neptune, which is essentially saying the same thing, are currently facing battles alone, being piled on by others, being shown the same amount of sympathy they bestowed onto others. And the astrological message says, respect intellectual property. Don't take being quiet for weakness. Saturn in Aries won't tolerate hidden theft anymore. It will confront it head on. And Saturn does not do well in Aries. It's in its fall here. So these consequences can appear and seem quite harsh. And once the anger train has started, it will be very, very difficult to make it stop. My advice, simplest advice, always the truest. Do right, you won't have to fight. And also, don't make it worse. People have a really short fuse now, especially for disrespect. Saturn in Aries.